All right, guys, it's Wednesday, March 10th, oil inventory news day. Okay, so let me just recap real quick. Yesterday, what happened? We had some consolidation here during the Globex session, broke out of the high value area, came back, retested, and we saw a long move for about 60 or so ticks onto the upside. And then we had to change our bias once it kind of came down pretty hard, did not bounce at these support levels, right? And then broke right through it, came up, retested the low value area, and our support became resistance and shot down from there. So during today's Globex session, we see an up move, pretty much an uptrend move all day. Okay, so I'm going to review this really quickly in just a second, but just to reference yesterday's consolidation area that broke down, look what happened, right? So we got this support that became resistance. Look what happened. It just came up into resistance, and what is it doing? Came up earlier, broke down from there, came up, and is testing the resistance and failing every time. Okay, and we got about 12 minutes before the inventory news comes out, so probably most likely no big movements at this point. Any move that has occurred at this point is done. So what we're going to look for is this thing to break out from the highs here, come back down, retest it down to this 37, 32, 35 area, right? And I'll probably look for the areas over here from previous days to break out of, right, and then come down for a retest. Or we're going to have to look for the low value area to break below the 36.96, which is the low of this channel right here that you're seeing in this consolidation area right here. And then we could look for a retest and a short. And then we have to really be careful about these support areas below. Let me blow this up real quick so you guys can see a little bit better. As you can see, there's some support here. Hit this area at the end of the day yesterday, and then came back up and recovered. So these are kind of key inflection areas that you're going to have to look at initially as targets. And if it breaks below here, then you could look for a continuation if you have a runner, or look for this thing to break below here and then maybe re-enter down here below for a continuation to the downside at that point. So a lot of things could happen, or it could just come down straight right to support level initially and then just bounce. But we're gonna have to look and wait patiently after the news comes out and see what happens, what setup occurs after that. So let's just look at the Globex session, how you might have traded that. So you can see, obviously, I like to highlight these areas. So we got some consolidation here, right? If we would have highlighted the lows, you had the highs, right? And then finally it breaks out, and you got this little small breakout and then move up. But really this test down here, right, bounce, and then finally taking off, this was your resistance that became support. So that's one area that you can look at as well. And let me go ahead and move this over so you guys have that as a reference area, right? Okay, so that was the first trade of the day, the breakout of the high value area, came back into that high value area. And this was over several hours, guys. So the main thing is it held, right? And then it pushed up from there. And then now we have pretty much this consolidation area right here, right? And we're going to have to either see a breakout to the upside there or to the downside and then retest down. Now, if it retests after it breaks below here, unless it goes all the way straight down here, which is a possibility, if it breaks and gives us an entry, we'll take it. But then I would probably start exiting down here. And the market may move pretty quickly. So we got to be very swift on our entries and exits there. Only because this is a support level that we just saw during the Globex session, and there probably will be a bounce. Now, if there isn't a bounce that just slices right through there, then we know that, okay, sellers are in control, and we may have to look for another entry to sell if we got out here into this support. Onto the upside, same thing. We're going to see this thing. If we see this thing break out, look for a retest, come back down, and then we'll look for go long, and then probably exit around these highs up here. Now, the question is, are these highs going to hold, and these lows are going to hold, right? So we got to be a little bit conservative, maybe initially off of our first or two contracts, depending on how many contracts you trade, and then we'll kind of go from there. So that's kind of the idea that I have going into inventories. We'll see what happens. We'll see if I can make a trade today. and then we'll kind of go from there, guys. And let me go ahead and pause the video, and we got about 8 minutes left, so we'll hold off, and I'll restart it once I'm in a trade. Okay, I'll talk to you guys in just a second. Alright guys, I'm back. News just came out, shot up to the upside, and now we're just gonna kind of wait. So we gotta watch this thing kind of consolidate and see if we can get an entry once it kind of slows down. So it's gonna have some erratic moves. Okay, so now we're breaking up to the upside. Just gotta hold this level here, because you see how it kind of came up and then rejected it, right? So it broke above HVA, okay, both on the long term and short term charts. It's working out for us, so it's gotta look for a push above here, and then a good retracement down to that level. So you gotta be patient. Watch this thing. May have to move up a little bit higher from here, right? And then we'll look for this thing to come down. So looks like strength is to the buyers right now. All right. Okay, here we go. Okay, good. Broke out of this high. All right. Now we just gotta look for that retracement, and then we will try to enter the market. Let me go ahead and pause the video, and when I enter, I will let you guys know, and we'll get in the trade. All right. All right, guys. I'm in the trade. I'm hoping this holds. If it doesn't, it doesn't. You know, but the support should kind of hold here. And if it doesn't, then you know the bias is not working out for me. Now, could I have waited for a longer retracement? Probably. You know, and actually, you know what I could do is move this down a little bit below this line in the sand, but you know, it could come down all the way down to 37.35 before it kind of moves back up again. And if it stops me out, then so be it. But right now I'm looking for what I'll do is I'll still look for another entry to the long side. I'm seeing retracements on both the long term and short term, so hopefully this holds and continues going up from here. And it might take some time, but that's the entry, guys. And what we'll want to do is see if this thing can break and make higher highs here. So hardest thing is you know, sticking with your bias and sticking with your gun. So again, now we gotta kind of look and say, okay, where are we gonna look for targets as we kind of go up from here? Well, we gotta have this area here at the 82, obviously. I really want this to hold, so, and the hardest part is gonna be having to hold through this. Now we're seeing a lot of buyers though. I mean, the bias is still to the upside. It's just kind of hesitating a little bit here. So once it breaks above here, this high, the 37.75, I think from earlier. Okay, here we go. So we got the 82 level here, maybe. Might take out one of my targets here. All right. And that's just the breakdown here, and then that retest before it broke out and then came down. So that might be a target at one point. It's hard to kind of hold through, but okay. So here we go, 82. Okay, first target filled. All right, so what we're gonna look for is these other targets up here above here in the 38s. Now this is going to be the one to kind of hold through. Now what could happen is there's initial sell-off after this breakout at the 38.04, where it kind of broke out yesterday, came down, bounced, and then ultimately failed. So and the news right now is positive, and actually it's moving in the direction of news. Sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't, but in this case it looks like it is. So you really gotta look at the momentum. So what we don't want to do is to see this kind of come back up in this area and then completely start retracing back in the next 5 or so minutes, right? You might see some pause because there's still going to be some sellers obviously up here. You look at those resistance levels, but really you do want to see this thing kind of push up and break through. And there might be some pause, but you don't want things to hit an area and just completely collapse either. So and if you didn't get down here, there's probably going to be another chance to get back in. Now I got in early enough, so I have enough room for this thing to come down. I have like plus 4 ticks on that stop right there, but really I just want to see this thing just keep moving up from here. So $38.04. So off that first contract, made about $250 off of this one contract, and now we're looking for this thing to push up even from here, and I might start to move this up a little bit higher. We'll see what happens at $38.04 though. If it holds at $38.04 and then just like blows right back past there, then it could possibly all the way go up to the 38, 37 at a minimum. So let me go and pause the video real quickly. All right, and let me look at this real quick. Look how close it went actually. Look at that. So we had market go up to high of 38.02, literally 2 ticks away. 2 ticks away from that 38.04 level that I just had over here. And so these would have been pretty good targets. I'd say the next target would probably be this high right here if it does break. Let me see, that 38.04, which is not too far. It's 38.11 really. All right, let's go look at here. Okay, so we got another entry here, possibly if this thing can continue moving up from here. We'll see what happens. The other markets, let's see, ES, all these other markets are actually pushing up as well. So we got the correlation. Just gotta hold these levels. You can see the resistance level at 37.82 where I originally got out is kind of being tested right now. So we got these Fibonacci retracements probably from here to here. Got a line in the sand. We really don't want this thing to break 37.74 basically. All right. We got a pretty healthy move from this low here. I mean, I got in obviously somewhere around here when I was moving back up. The 37.50s, right? So 58.60, so that's about 10, 20, 30, 40 tick moves so far. Let's see if we can get a few more. So we're going to see this thing, hopefully it should break that 38.02. Once it breaks that 38.02, we could look for this thing to get higher into this recent high before it pushed back down. We could see a reaction, or it could just blow right through here, but those would be other targets as well. I only have 2 contracts now, so maybe a little conservative. We just see what happens. See what happens at that 38.02, right? Should hold this level. Even going down to the 1 minute chart. See what's going on here. Okay, it's got a little bounce here, right? It's not really looking good coming down to this level. We would like to see this thing bounce and hold, right, if it really wants to continue moving up. But at 37.82 area that we got out initially should hold as support if this thing wants to go up further. unless we get a much deeper retracement. And this it just kind of shows you how key it is to get in, getting in at the right point. So got in here around the 50s, right? Now, what we don't want to see is this thing really come all the way back down here. I mean, it could, but this 37.35 level where it broke out of should hold. We're in the 50s, 30s to 50s, should hold. We do not want to see that stay. Okay, now we got Fibonacci retracements here on the short term and long term now. So let's see if this is an area that is really going to hold. So in the 70s. Alright, here we go. Push it up. What we want to see is this thing that 3802 kind of break out from there. Just gotta see that momentum. There's a lot of hesitation here, but it shouldn't keep making lower lows, right? If we want to push up and go high, we want to start seeing higher highs. So the exit here, quick, about a little over $500 profit off of 2 contracts, just to give you an idea. Okay, hopefully, you guys got a lot out of that. I was able to talk through it before the inventory came out and after inventory. And maybe that'll give you some insight on how to trade inventory. Every inventory day is a little bit different. I mean, it happens every Wednesday, every week, but sometimes it moves erratically, really quickly. It might even move 60, 80 ticks in one direction and completely reverse. I mean, a lot of things happen, but you just gotta anticipate and kind of look at the different levels prior to the market opening, so you kind of have context on what's going on when it hits those levels, especially when you can't even get in the market. If it just moves so fast, you can't even get in. But you saw today, I was patient enough. I'll blow this up real quick. Initially came out of this high value area, which we were looking for, right? Anyway, we're looking for it to retrace. It did come back down into that 37, 36, so that could have been a buy. But look what happened. It moved up and then bounced twice and then broke and came back down. So at that point, I would have even been stopped out, and the market moved pretty quickly. And it was happening like within a minute. So not necessarily trade. So that's why we waited. Started kind of slowing down, came back down to the high value area after breaking back out. Right? We broke out, and not only that, we broke out of the previous high that it broke out of. Right? Also broke out of that level, then came back down, and then retraced and then moved back up. So to me, that was a good trade for me, and I felt pretty confident about that. Okay, so now same thing, looking at the previous high where we saw sellers kind of come in the market, right? And people, whoever's fading this right now, if it breaks, they will be losing. So we're going to look for that to happen, and if it happens, we should see some pretty good upside. Now let's see, while we're talking here, I'll go out to the hour chart and see what else is there past this area. Okay, so we got some, alright, so this 38, 37 level, the reason why I put that as a resistance and you see how it ticked and came back down is, look at this, bounced off that level, right, and then held up here and then finally broke through and never looked back, right? So until it hit the 20s. So this is a pretty in my mind, and just looking at the charts, this is a pretty good resistance area, right? And I only hit it once, so if it does break through here today, it probably won't hold. It might move up from there. So but again, if you just want to get out, you don't have to trade that long. This video itself is about to hit 20 minutes. But the trade itself will only last it's only been about 15 minutes, maybe less, I don't know, right? So the trade itself hasn't lasted that long. I mean, you don't need to trade all day long to make money, right? And I think that's the point of this. So All right. So look at the hour chart. Looks like that 3804 is pretty good resistance. And we just really need to see this breakout. You can see some. Let's see. Yeah, you're seeing some hesitation right around this area. So kind of going back and forth, back and forth. Now, if it fails and breaks below here, then yeah, it could just completely turn over. So we really want to hold this. So I guess if I want to keep my profits, I'd probably want to move my stop up to the 70s again, and hoping that this thing holds here. All right, so the support here that came down, right, should hold, because buyers that are pushing this and trying to push this even higher are probably looking at those levels as well. A lot of them could have entered later, you know. Later buyers after the initiation here. So we'll see who wins, right? But if it does break, it's got some pretty good potential to move up pretty high, and probably it could come up to 30, 38, 37. I'm not going to wait all day for that. If you had a trade, if you have a contract open, you could leave that runner and see how far it goes for the rest of the night. Maybe moving your stop up, you know, a little bit below here, just to give it enough room, or even below here, right? And see what happens after it breaks at 38, 37. So a lot of resistance right here at 3804. Okay, we're about to break it though. And you see a lot of orders right here. Once these things get taken out, it could jump up pretty quickly. So let's see. Yet again, still pushing down. Man, doesn't want to break. Alright, here we go. Let's push this through. Break. Come on. And even after this, two things could happen here. It could break and shoot right through those stops and then completely turn back around. Or it could break those stops, hesitate a little bit above there, and then continue just moving up all the way to the recent highs at the 38, 37. So you just got to be a little bit careful there as well. And at that point, I may move my stop up here just to hold and keep a little bit more of my profits, right? You can see there was a lot of support, resistance, support, resistance. So this is kind of our new channel, right? All right, there you go. Breaking through. All right, come on, let's see that momentum. Oof. Let's preserve as much as our profits as possible. All right. Broke out, and then, oh, that's not looking good. Okay. All right, all right. All right, and stopped out. All right. So that was a $500 profit off of the two contracts. We can see this kind of come back down, and then maybe there might be another retracement on the longer term. But this area should hold at 37.62, 37.55. Right, so this area right here, right, where it keeled over. Zoom it out a little. Well, let me just do this. Now the rest of the market is collapsing as well. So like I said, these things correlate. So, and for those that were asking me if this works on the ES, well, seeing this here, that. Well, the profile levels here kind of, I'm not sure why this indicator is showing it this way, but basically you're seeing the sell bias retracement move down, and you had a second entry here and it's moving down as well. So but it just doesn't work as consistently as I like as oil. So but let's look at that level right here, guys. Look at the top of that box right here. I mean, you saw that I made this in the previous video. I left it open. if I were to go ahead and make a line here, and you guys will see how interesting this stuff is. All right. Look how exact these levels, the markets move. So you just make a right there at the top of that box. Okay, look what's going on. Look what happened when it came back down to that level, almost to the tick. I mean, I'm being very, like, you know, loose here when I put these lines here, because I'm putting it over this box. But you know, you can see that the levels that it was bouncing off of, you know, that broke out of, right, from previous high value, low value, you know, consolidation areas, once it comes down and tests that level for the first time, because we broke out of it. That was a trade actually earlier, right? Broke out, came back down that 58, and then moved up from there. And then the second test, actually really is the second test, you got some bounce there. So what we will look at is, right, if the market doesn't hold and breaks through here, we may need to change our bias again, right? And may need to sell. Oops, excuse me. May need to sell if this thing's not going to hold. So that is another possibility, right? So that's why we do take our targets out, you know, and then we start moving our stops up. Didn't get as much as I wanted out of that, but hey, you know, it's just one day, guys. You guys can trade like this every day consistently and make money. It's not about making a whole lot of money overnight. One thing I didn't talk about in this video is actually I just entered in. This is actually day one for me of my Top Step Trader Combine, and I was gonna document it. I mean, I kind of haphazardly decided to record this video anyway without talking about Top Step Trader, which I will in my next video. But this is my day one, so I made $500 of profit. My target total profit that I need to make is about $3,000. So just briefly, I'll talk about it and I'll recap it in more detail in my next video. But it's basically a prop firm, proprietary firm, online based. They evaluate your trading and they give you parameters to trade with, and they tell you, well, you know, if you can trade within these parameters and make a profit, and your target based on the account size that you pick, and there's a fee involved, then basically they'll give you an account with their proprietary money, and you can basically trade their money. So real quick here, this is not a trade that I take very often, but once you break out of the high value or low value area and there's a retracement and it moves up, it should continue moving up. Now the bias change is when it breaks below, and the bias you have the bias start changing to the downside, right, where levels of support, at least on a high value area, should have held, and then you also break inside of the high value area, in this case at least, right? What you look for is, in this indicator, what helps you out is you get the red triangle, you see the change to the downside, and then if this held, that wouldn't have been a trade, right? What you're now looking for is a short. And what happens is you see it break below, inside of high value area, come back up and retest the high value area, and that is a short trade entry as well. Okay, but right now the overall bias is to the long side. If you are a trend trader, this is not the type of trade that you would want to take, but if you want to scalp it for, you know, a 10-20 tick move, I've seen it happen, and it's happening right now. Now if this level doesn't hold and it starts to move back down, there's a possibility, especially when you see some Fibonacci dots come up here and hold on this level right here, and then maybe even line up here on the long-term time frame, and then there's a possibility that could move down. So, but you know, I'm taking the trade, the bias to the long side only today, and I will not take this trade. I got to be a little bit more careful doing the Top Step Trader, and I really do want to see this through. So hopefully I can journal this, and you guys are my witnesses if I pass. And I'll talk more in detail about it. But basically, you pass it. They give you a second basic evaluation. Make sure that your first evaluation isn't a fluke. They give you different parameters. And really, I think it comes down to whether or not you're really a disciplined and risk management adhering trader, right? Because really, it's your risk management that's going to get you to be a profitable trader over time. Okay, so we can see that price is now kind of consolidating in this area, right? So this is kind of an inflection area like we kept talking about. So what I would actually look for is a breakdown below here, the 37.35 area. If it comes back into this area here, breakdown below here, that could lead to more selling, right? Now, this could be the beginning of it, but if you're trading with the trend, you would probably want to hold off, right? Because this could just be a retracement, and then this whole level ends up holding and moving up. But again, if you want to scalp it, you could have scalped it here. You could have tried it again here once we saw the Fibonacci retracements, especially because you saw it and it lined up with the long-term time frame on this particular indicator. But looks like it's kind of moving up again. So what it could do is turn back around, and like I said, end up being a just a retracement to the downside, and then we see this thing kind of move up and end up taking out these highs and going even higher from here. So it all depends on the type of risk that you want to take. For me, if I want to trade or gamble, or however you want to look at it with the market, I'm going to look for the highest probability trades. And within this system, trading market profile, the highest probability trades are going to be with trend, breaking out of either high value or low value. So in an uptrend, you break out of the high value, basically, the highs of the day of the consolidation area, and then a retracement down to that area for a long, or in a downtrend, break out at the low value area, and then look for a retracement back to that area, and then a short. So I'm glad I didn't take that trade to the downside. Now, if you missed that trade earlier, right, what you can do is look at the fact that this consolidation, like in this 5-minute, right, if you were just looking at a 5-minute chart, and that's the type of trades that you would like to do, and that's your style, could have looked at this trade here as well. Broke out pretty high, right? So a lot of buyers. The first time test back into this support area, right, is a pretty valid trade as well. So it's just a little bit harder to get into that entry, right? So if you're trading a market profile, but you got your references, you got the lows of here, and look at now is the highs from earlier, right? Resistance, right? Because the support got broken yesterday, became resistance, broke out of here, so this should be support, right? Broke out, came back down to this area, could have made another long trade at that point, and already made a pretty healthy profit. So we're moving up to about 20 or so ticks. But again, always the first breakout retracement trade is always going to be the best. And if you had any trades left over, and you just keep it at the break even, or push it up like I did earlier, especially if you're not so confident about the trade. And let me give you an example really quickly about an area where I would have had been a little bit more confident. Well, it was this day here where you have this huge resistance area that actually breaks out of, and that's actually, there's two areas that I'm going to show you within the last week where you have this resistance area here, right, where you see this red, and it broke out of here, right, and then once it retested and there was an entry during this day, I was pretty sure, I felt pretty confident because there's not a whole lot of resistance to the upside, and ended up hitting all these areas up here that are the next resistance area. So same thing on this day. Once it broke out of this high, pretty confident that this thing was going to continue moving up, right? Especially because when you look backwards in time, you can see that those highs were resistance areas that were pretty significant, maybe in this bigger picture, right? Because this was a high, this is a high where there was a resistance and the market pushed down from and stayed below for quite a while. So once it visited it and broke out of it, I could feel pretty confident that I was just going to keep moving past it until the next area, which is right around here, and we saw that the other day. So same thing happening kind of today, except for we haven't broken this high, right? We're coming up into these levels, so this could potentially be a strong resistance level in hindsight, unless it breaks it. So if we were already at these highs and it broke out of here, then yeah, I would have seen it come up here and maybe held and been confident that it might be moving the other direction. But right now what could happen is this could be a high, or this could be the next high. You come up to this level and then just turn back over. So just other things that I think about and you can talk through, just more trade ideas that I like to share, right? But again, this is almost a 36-minute video. If you're still watching this video, again, when I always talk about the long videos that I make, I always appreciate the fact that you're sticking with it, and I'm hoping you guys are learning with me. Again, 37 minutes, not too bad. $500, and it was like less than 20 minutes maybe off of just 2 contracts. So the reason I'm trading exactly about 2 contracts right now is the trade size I have for this Top Step Trader program for the prop firm. And once I pass this, hopefully on the first time, it's not that easy, which I'll talk about in another video. But if I pass this, then I can pass this knowledge on to you guys, and maybe some of you guys that are undercapitalized can also try it out and use the lessons that I've learned that I can share and captured here on YouTube, and you guys could go on and trade their money and make some money for yourself. Alright, so day 1 Top Step Trader. Didn't mean to make this video into one of those, but here you go. Alright. Yeah, I guess to really highlight once again is the first test is always the best. So once you get a breakout and it comes back down and retraces and you enter the trade, you got to commit to that trade, right? Whether you 1 contract, 2 contracts, 1 contract is always harder. It's because you want to scale out, at an area, and then when it really keeps moving in that direction, you're kind of like kicking yourself because you're like, man, I could have just held it. But you never know. But if you have, at least 2 contracts or more, then you have options because you can scale up as you go, hold on to some positions to wait for them to hit some resistance areas, right? So even this area that might have failed and we came back down, right? If you were holding on to a position and didn't get stopped out, in my case I probably would have because I got in around this level here. Or if you would have entered here, you might kind of look and see, okay, well, need to break this level here, and then either look for another target up here or break out from here, and then we'll see if there's other targets above. So it could happen. It could definitely happen. But do I want to wait around all night? Because right now here in Korea it is 1 a.m. I do not. I'm going to sleep, guys. But for you on the East Coast or wherever you are in the world, if it works for you in your time zone, good for you. Hope it works for you. Make it work for you. And with that said, I'll say good night. Leave a comment. Subscribe. Let me help you. Help me. Help me help you. and hopefully we can make a lot of money in the market, guys. All right, longest video I think this week or this month. Anyway, talk to you guys later.